Here's the big problem, though. Forrester calls it the tech moose, maintaining and operating the organization, systems, and equipment, basically just keeping the lights on. How are you going to innovate and transform the customer experience if, as you can see by this Forrester report, 70 to 75% of a typical IT budget goes towards just keeping the lights on?
So if you look at it recommendation-wise, right, I mean, I guess first of all, look at cloud databases to lower your database cost, right, and supporting your next generation of business application. I think cloud databases are definitely here to stay. And we are seeing a very strong adoption of the cloud, the hybrid cloud, as I mentioned, having a combination of on-premise, a combination of the public cloud is a very important part of your strategy. You can balance the cost, you can balance the provisioning of these new databases, you can balance the backup and recovery and what have you, right? So definitely look at your database strategy for 2017 and going forward, having cloud as part of their strategy. Open source, as I mentioned, has become equally important. You want to minimize the vendor lock-in, supporting new features and functionality, as well as lower database costs. Now, open source, can play a very good role in supplementing your existing commercial databases. That's what larger enterprises are doing today, including some of the Fortune 100 companies, without naming those names. but definitely, when I speak to those guys, they are using open source databases. Even, as I mentioned, even the Fortune 100 companies. Now, these guys actually are going to be doing a combination of, certain things go in open source, certain things go in commercial, and if you balance or strike a balance on this, definitely helps a lot. Now, I would definitely recommend looking at service providers and looking at other solution providers and companies who can help you achieve the strategy. Because sometimes, you can sit on it and you can work on it for 6 months and realize that, well, we may not even save money actually with open source. So you really want to get some help to defining certain strategies around this, NoSQL is mature, as I mentioned, right? The adoption is huge, is growing. Looking for all applications can benefit it. But certainly remember that not all applications could benefit in terms of scale and performance. Certain applications still are relevant in relational, right? I would say documents and graph database and key value store, which is a part of the whole NoSQL platform, are beneficial around those. But certainly, not all applications are beneficial. You got to look at choosing what exactly applications would be actually beneficial. You should lay out a plan actually to defining those, right? Certain documents, like say I mentioned documents. If you need documents where you need to combine a lot of data, document-oriented databases are probably the best. If you're looking at graph, right? Graph is all connections of data, right? It's all is about, hey, how do we connect this data and give you a better transverse of the nodes and give you more information, like social networking application, like building a Facebook or like a Twitter. Standard edition, I think, is growing quite a lot in organizations because not every application needs an enterprise edition. So standard edition actually helps you, and consolidation, virtualization also helps you achieve this as well, right? And I think organizations should be leveraging these different strategies. Leveraging third-party support to lower your costs, free up resources, improve performance, and drive innovation. I think it's important. Third-party support is another way we just talked about to saving money. Database support cost strategy. Now, this is a very interesting one, right? I mean, you have third-party vendors that also offer full database support. Sometimes you don't need the vendor support, right? Look for vendors that have comprehensive coverage. Any type of database or application or workload could be used to do that as well. In fact, more than 40% of tech moves goes for the IT infrastructure and system operation, including maintenance fees for databases, right? Dan talked about his the moves thing where we actually have the allocation of these resources for these systems operations and application operations for organizations to follow, right? Kind of like the lights on thing, right? If you have control over this cost, I'm sure you can save a lot of money as well. In fact, 50% or more kind of saving could be achieved from a database support cost perspective. I think this is huge.
BDP is a $2 billion logistics company with operations around the globe. They've got a homegrown data warehouse that's running on Oracle Database 11.2, plus some other older releases. Their system was pretty stable, and they were paying about $650,000 to Oracle for annual maintenance fees. They believed they had about 10 instances in production, plus some non-production instances. And they looked at their options. BDP succeeded in saving over $300,000 on their annual maintenance fees right off the bat by switching to third-party support for their Oracle database. But one unexpected benefit that they realized was the faster and more responsive support they received because, well, instead of contacting an entry-level engineer at the Oracle call center, they were now connected directly to a primary support engineer, actually their primary support engineer, who's assigned to them, who's got an average of 15 years of hands-on experience and was able to quickly solve their problems. Rimini Street freed up funds and resources for BDP to focus on leveraging other database platforms to speed development and reduce overall costs. They leverage cloud and other lighter database platforms like Postgres and MySQL that were more nimble, more cost-effective to enabling rapid development, a lot of what Noel was talking about earlier. This change allowed BDP to really move the needle for the organization and attract new customers. Specifically, they focused on expanding the BDP Smart Suite. This is a tool that allows them to communicate the logistics data better with their customers. They also launched a new mobile version of BDP Smart Suite. And the team is now focusing on some specific IT projects having to do with virtualization, data center consolidation, and eventually they're looking at a database upgrade. BDP is part of a family of over 1,600 clients. That includes over 355 database clients that are supported by Rimini Street. And you can see here many are with large and very complex infrastructures. Others, totally opposite end of the spectrum. Single database instances, very simple, not very large, but they see the value in having that third-party, more responsive, and more cost-effective support.